And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
All right, good morning. Thank you for those of you that joined this workshop. The topic we're discussing in this workshop is agricultural burning here in Imperial County. My name is Chris Moncarte. I'm an air pollution control specialist here with the Imperial County Air District. I've been here for about 2 years and have served in the capacity as a inspector out on the field, and now as a specialist helping with these various programs that we manage, agricultural burning being one of the many programs that we oversee to reduce and mitigate air pollution here in Imperial County. With me here, we also have Thomas Brinkerhoff.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas Brinkerhoff, Compliance Enforcement Division Manager here in Imperial County. I've been with the district for about 17 years. And as a manager for this section in Imperial County for approximately 2 years. And as Chris mentioned, we do have a number of rules and policies that revolve around agricultural burning, open burning, otherwise known as residential burning. We'll also be going over a little bit, I believe, on our application process and what the procedures are for our clients so that they can remain in compliance and know how to move forward with requesting various types of burns. So again, happy to be here. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
All right, so we can get the slides up on the screen.
There we go.
And just so you know, I have a great picture of your screen, so that's working perfectly well.
You can see our screen there.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that confirmation, Mr. Weir.
Okay, so next slide. So just some housekeeping with this workshop. Again, this is being recorded. Main goal out of this workshop is for it to be a resource for our local farmers, anybody conducting an agricultural burn. They can reference this information at a later time. If you do have a question while we're speaking, you're more than welcome to submit a question through the chat feature. If it's a quick question, we'll respond to it. If it's a more open dialogue, we can reserve it for the end, and we'll have time at the end of this workshop to have a more open discussion. So the basic objectives of this workshop are outlined here. We want to help you identify the basic rules and regulations that our air district has, the rules that we follow as staff and we enforce, as well as those conducting the burns, what they need to follow. Understand policies that kind of supplement these rules and give additional kind of rules that you have to follow when you're conducting an agricultural burn. Also be able to identify a few agencies here locally that we are involved with when conducting these agricultural burns, namely fire departments. We also want you to understand the evaluation process that happens with our compliance division on a daily basis before we determine whether it is a burn day or not a burn day. And finally, at the end, we'll touch a little bit on alternatives to burning and specifically emission reduction credits as a way to reduce emissions from this source. So next slide. So agricultural burning, it's a practice that's been around for many years and happens throughout California. Agricultural burning, the intention of ag burning is to manage vegetation. Here in Imperial County, agricultural fields is the primary source, and it helps farmers to remove crop residue from a previous harvest. And here we see that a lot with wheat and various other grains. Ag burning also helps remove weed, prevent disease, control pests. So it's a mechanism here to help the farmer get his field ready for the next harvest season. For the farmer, one negative of conducting an ag burn, it's been proven that the agricultural field can lose nutrients such as nitrogen, sulfur, and potassium. And that's one drawback of conducting a burn versus disking or another technique. Our role as the air district is to mitigate the emission levels, not just from agricultural burning, but all sorts of burning, open burning, other sources of pollution. And we are, in a sense, the middleman to regulate and reduce the impact on the local, in our local air basin. So we'll get into the main rule, the basic rules, Rule 701, which covers agricultural burning here in Imperial County. This rule is accessible on our website. If you go to our homepage, there's a rules and regulation tab, and you can print the document for this rule, and it outlines all the rules that cover this. On this slide here, I'm only covering the main core rules that we often find issues with compliance. And so these are rules that you want to follow conducting an ag burn. The first three that you see on the screen, no person shall knowingly set an agricultural burn unless they have a valid permit with our office. So you want to ensure that you have a permit, and we'll cover that here shortly on how to get a permit. The other is you also need to notify, so each applicant shall have a permit, and notice of intent shall be given. So once you have a permit, you're approved, you do need to give a notice of intent to the office, and we'll go over that. But sometimes we come across that issue where an ag burn is in process and we have no idea why the ag burn is occurring. So intention needs to be provided. No permit shall be valid for a day in which ag burning is prohibited by CARB or ultimately the air district. There will be times when CARB will suggest that the air district call it a no burn day, and the air district will decide, gets the ultimate decision whether it is a burn day or not a burn day. So you always want to check with your air district on the burn day status. The other rule we have on here is all agricultural waste to be burned must be free of tire, rubbish, construction debris, and other material. In speaking with one of our inspectors, one of the issues that we sometimes come across is you'll have plastic from a previous crop still out on the field, or other material from a previous harvest. You want to remove all this waste from the field to ensure it's a minimal impacted burn. And finally, all agricultural waste shall be ignited by an approved ignition device. And if you were to refer to our Rule 101, you can see common ignition devices. The most common one that we see is a torch, a propane powered torch. That's an approved ignition device. What we don't want to see is, burning a tire, dragging a tire, or even pouring diesel fuel on the perimeter and igniting diesel fuel. You don't want to add to the pollution level. So we recommend either a match or a propane powered torch.
I'm just taking a break real quick to make sure we're not missing anybody here trying to join in. I don't believe so. Okay, all right, so we'll go ahead and resume.
Okay. And again, all these rules are available on our website. Within Rule 701, it covers special burns. So what is a special burn? Special burn is an agricultural field. The rule reads within 1.5 miles, but it's been amended. An agricultural field within 2 miles of a residential area, which has 3 or more continuous dwellings, a rural school, or it's adjacent to a heavily traveled road. A heavily traveled road would be an interstate highway, a California state road, any route that has, again, high traffic. Any field that's within 2 miles of that has to follow these requirements. An air district inspector has to be present prior to the conducting of the burn. And ultimately the inspector at the time of, at the appointment time decides whether or not it's adequate for burning if the weather conditions are optimal. The inspector, when they arrive, may require backfiring, strip lighting, or use of fire breaks. An example of this one was we had a agricultural field near Highway 111, which was 240 acres, continuous acres. And the inspector ultimately decided that if the burn was to be completed with the full 240 acres, smoke would impact the California State Road 111. So he asked the farmer to reschedule and break the 240 acre lot into 2 or 3 spots. And that allows to spread out the burn into multiple days and reduce the impact of a state route and also a IBC college. So you'll see sometimes once the inspector arrived, they realize the impact and they'll request a break in the field. The inspector may withhold approval if they arrive and weather conditions do not match what the weather forecast said. If the winds there in that area are high, if the inversion layer looks low, they can cancel the burn and suggest another day. For those conducting the burn, a responsible person shall be there until the fire is completely out. There should be enough employees or help to be able to help with directing traffic. There on the screen, you can see just an example of a flagger. We suggest and ask that you have a flagger with orange flags on the state route to tell the traffic to reduce their speed or to warn them that there's smoke ahead. And I think those flags, those are able, you can purchase them at Casey Welding, any supply store should have these material available for your staff. Fields must be disked within 48 hours. That one is not mandatory, it's just suggested. And finally, the permittee or responsible agent must make the appointment to meet the inspector. So an inspector will call you the day of a special burn, agree on a time to meet with you, and we ask the farmer to honor that time, arrive a little bit before that time to be able to get a full picture of how things are looking there locally. So honoring that scheduled time. I wanted to point out here on the screen, on the map below, that's an example, that's the radius that you see there is the Naval Air Facility. And the picture above is a field directly north of the Naval Air Facility. And this burn was conducted last year. And the goal was, when we conducted the test burn for the special burn prior to the appointment, was to make sure that smoke was traveling north so that there was no impact to the Naval Air Facility or any of the residences there in nearby Sealy. And that picture above shows smoke traveling up and to the north, which created a safe special burn with no impact to that local community. So that's just one example of a successful special burn. And so again, we have policies. We've covered the 2 rules. Now we're going to talk about the 2 policies that we have for agricultural burning. So here for our staff, we have a procedure on allocating the amount of acreage that's being burnt throughout our air basin. We here at our office, we have a large wall-sized map, like you see on the screen, that divides the county into 4 quadrants. It runs north-south through the 111 freeway, and then east to west, almost through Brawley through Highway 78. And more or less, it's divided evenly. And so as burn requests come into our office, they are plotted on the quadrants, and they are there ready for scheduling. And the inspector on call decides which burns are to be completed. And what they're following is that no more than 400 acres should be burned per quadrant in a given day, on a given burn day. Prioritization will be given, again, a smaller acreage field, 70 acres, has higher priority. So if you have a field that's 240 acres, 280 acres, we highly encourage breaking it up into smaller sizes, and that'll increase your likelihood of getting a quicker scheduled ag burn. And that's just to reduce the smoke impact again. Burns within 2 miles of a school will be prioritized for the weekends, holidays, school closures, winter breaks. On work days prior to a weekend, staff meets. So typically on Fridays, the inspector on call will look at the map and will begin to forecast scheduled burns for the weekend. In the case that the weekend has a burn day. Staff shall convey a copy of the daily controlled burn log to the Imperial County Fire Department. We'll cover this shortly in a few slides, but once these burns are scheduled for each quadrant, we give notification to our local fire department on burns that are occurring. The second policy that we have that covers agricultural burning is the good neighbor policy, policy 37. There's two parts to this rule, or to this policy, sorry. Neighbor notification. So burning of any field that contains, which contains one or more dwellings nearby, we ask that the farmer conducting the burn should identify and notify that nearby resident. It's challenging to give them advance notice more than a day because typically we will notify you the morning of that the burn will occur. So we ask that morning you notify verbally or written a nearby resident, anybody that might be impacted, that you will be conducting a burn. We have an example on our website under policy 37, and it's just a template of what you can tell or provide the sensitive receptor of what will be occurring. And we ask usually right before the burn, 15 minutes, 30 minutes before the burn, that you give them one final reminder that you're about to begin an agricultural burn, and that gives them time to prepare and be ready for that burn. The second part of this policy is traffic rerouting, which we covered a little bit earlier. And that's that when there's a freeway or a highly traveled public county road, we ask that there's a sufficient amount of persons, and a sufficient number of persons, I would say, is 3 to 4 people who can be at each corner or at each end of the field and can provide a warning to those traveling that they will be encountering smoke on their route ahead. There's an example there on the screen of what you could look like, a yellow vest, orange flag, just telling the traffic slow down, there's smoke. And yeah, clear directions. They can provide alternative routes. We've seen that where we tell them you can direct people to turn instead of traveling that road. And the main goal here is so that those traveling don't have to be impacted by the smoke. All right, so now we've covered the rules and the policies that we follow here with our staff. And now we'll start to cover the permitting process and the application process. So if you want to apply to conduct an agricultural burn, go to our website, and under agricultural burning, you'll find these applications that you see on the screen. You fill out the information, submit it to our front office. Our front office goes through all the information, make sure everything is correct. And with the application, you submit payment, and the payment schedule is on our Rule 306 on permit fees. For this year coming forward, 2023, you pay a permit fee of $94 for the year, and that covers the first 40 acres that you will burn. After that, you are paying $1.50 per acre to burn. And if it is categorized as a special burn, again, within 2 miles of a sensitive receptor, there's a $53 fee, and that's because a inspector needs to be on site to do a full check of the ag burn. So you submit the application, you pay the fee, you get approval from our front office, and now that you have approval, you submit the form on the bottom saying you're ready to burn, and we ask that you submit when the field is prepared, and that way, if we are available the next day or that week, it's ready for burn, and one of our staff will contact you in the morning. We'll give you a call to coordinate whether an inspector needs to be there or not, and a scheduled time based on our burn hours. And then the process continues. And ag burning will continue as long as the owner operator stays current with their payment of their ag field and good standing with the air district. So the evaluation of a burn day, again, this happens on a daily basis by our compliance division. They start by checking what the state with CARB designated the air basin as a burn day status, and they use that as a preliminary filter. Once they check with CARB's website, they do a quick look at the air quality index locally, and that will give a good indication. There on the screen, you can see our 5 air quality monitors that we have. If an inspector sees that air quality throughout the county is in a yellow level, red level, they will probably not call it a burn day because there needs to be some more transport and cleaner air. And so that's one of the major checks that they do. Once they check the air quality, local air quality, then they prepare their weather report. And here for our weather report for our air district, we use the National Weather Service. And on the National Weather Service, we're able to run various reports. They tell us the wind levels, humidity, the barometric pressure, and we look at all this information. Ideally, we want no winds or winds below 10 miles per hour. In the summer months, when it gets very humid here, you limit the amount of burning. You don't want too much moisture in the air because that won't allow for the smoke to disperse. The barometric pressure or mixing height, you want the smoke to elevate to above 3,000 meters.
Yeah, 3,000 feet.
3,000
Look at
feet.
these 3,000 feet.
3,000 feet, and that way the smoke travels up and then can properly disperse in the direction that we need. And so there's various weather conditions that they're reviewing before they give that final determination. And once they've looked at all this, gathered all this information, by 8:15 each morning, they will recommend whether it is a burn day, a marginal burn day, a no burn day. It's passed through to the compliance division manager and then notified to the air pollution control officer. So when the burn day decision is made, then the person in charge of determining the burn day will then fax or email the burn day status to Imperial County Fire, the Imperial County Sheriff, all the municipal fire departments, the tribal communities, and some local state agencies and federal agencies. And this is exactly what you see on the screen is what we send. We send a cover page, the burn day status, the hours on which a burn can be occurring. And then as the day goes on, we send a list of burns that are approved by the air district. And this is so that we are mindful of the resources of the fire department and that the fire department does not have to travel to a scheduled permitted safe burn. We want to limit their trips, and this is a good way. And many times we get phone calls from the fire department just to verify that it is a safe burn, permitted burn. And other times we get a call about a unpermitted burn that they're at. And so we work hand in hand with the department, trying to utilize their resources and our resources as efficiently as possible. To determine the burn day status, you can always call our office. Again, we try to declare the burn day status by 8:15 each morning. So if you call our main line at 442-265-1800, you can call after 8:30 each day and ask if it's a burn day. You can also check our homepage, our website, right underneath the banner on our homepage at apc.imperialcounty.org. You can see the burn day status. This gets updated by 8:30 a.m. each day, and you can see there, quickly check whether you can burn on a given day.
One thing to note, whether it's an agricultural burner or residential burner, of course, just simply by looking up or getting the confirmation that it is a burn day, you then also have to get an authorization. Each person burning gets an authorization number. So it's vital to contact our office to make sure that you get that authorization number that we have on the list, which we then share with fire departments, with the sheriff's office and whatnot, and go over any special procedures or normal procedures for carrying out their burn for that day to the client.
Okay, and here we have total agricultural acres burned. You can see a trend here of permitted burns with the Air District. You can see that at 10 years ago, there was above 50,000 acres of agricultural burning occurring. And in more recent years, you see that the levels are now between 10 to 15,000 acres burned per year, which is great from an air quality standpoint and emission standpoint. I think we were seeing preliminary numbers for last year that we were saying we're around 10,000 acres.
I think about closer to 12,000, but still, again, we've been closer to 14, 15, 16,000 acres, but well below 20,000 for a number of years now. And last year, this past year in 2022, again, it was a little lower. And that's just, I know, based on what's going on with the agriculture industry as a whole, with what type of crops are put down on the ground and what's being harvested, and also with how the weather conditions were for the year overall.
Yep. So, and then there you can see some of the common type of crop that's burned. This isn't an all-inclusive list. There's many more crops that we burn, but this is the most common crop that we are burning here in Imperial County. And finally, this is just some additional information that applies to agricultural burning. First off, in 2021, there was 24 notice of violations written by our staff for illegal burning practices, and that includes agricultural burns and illegal burns. Again, the goal of our district is to try to keep every permittee in compliance. Our goal is not to enforce violations, but if we need to keep agricultural burning safe and done properly, we are following these rules and enforcing these rules with our staff. The next point, which we can discuss more, is the main alternative to burning agricultural fields is to disc the fields, and you can apply for emission reduction credits with our office, and we can touch a little bit more on that if you have any questions. And finally, if you want to report a complaint, if you see a burn that is suspicious, that maybe doesn't look safe, or maybe is impacting a community, you can call our office at that main phone line, and one of our staff can go and investigate and see what that situation is. So those are it for the additional information. Thomas, I don't know, do we want to touch on more on emission reduction credits?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I just want to go ahead and leave contact information up here for a brief moment. And I want to thank Chris for putting together this outstanding presentation. You can see Chris Mancarta as our specialist, his email there. For anybody in the county, including their official control district, our ending on our emails is at co.imperial.ca.us. I always tell that to our clients, so it's an easy shortcut way to remember. If they somehow forget part of our emails, and then my email right there, Thomas Brinkerhoff at co.imperial.ca.us. Our address here, of course, we're located on 150 South 9th Street, just behind the courthouse, right off of Main Street here in El Centro, near downtown El Centro, and our number 442-265-1800. As you see in our presentation, we also have our website available, and a lot of our information that we've gone over, whether it's the rules, policies, determining the burn status for each day, that's available on our website as well. So we encourage businesses to go on there to see what is going on for that particular day, to see if there's a chance that they can burn, and that's at apcd.imperialcounty.org. And with that, I'll go ahead and exit out of the screen sharing so we can get to any questions that we may have from our audience. Okay,